All right. So it was obvious yesterday that we're having trouble with proportions and setting them up. And that worksheet that we did yesterday didn't give us a whole lot of practice. Okay, so today we're going to practice these some more. All right, so step one for setting up proportions. You're going to read the problem, obviously. And you're going to underline the first number and label. So what I mean by that is it 3 hours? Is it 5 oranges? Is it 6 miles? Okay, is it $4? You're going to underline the first number with the first label. And then you're going to circle, underline the second number and label. Step two, you're going to match your labels and put them in this proportion. So that means that you're going to put label 1 on the top and label 2 on the bottom. So that means if it says cost per orange, you're going to put cost on top, oranges on the bottom. If it says miles per gallon, you're going to put miles on top, gallons on bottom. If it's talking about, I don't know, hours and books, you're going to put hours on top, books on bottom. Okay, but you're going to set it up to where both of the hours are on the top, both of the books are on the bottom, or both of the miles are on the top, both of the gallons are on the bottom. And then the last thing that we're going to do is solve for the missing part. So that's the x part by cross multiplying and solving as a one-step equation. So that just means like if you had 5 hours for 2 books, how many hours for 8 books or something like that, okay? You would cross multiply and solve. And last thing you should do is always label your answer. So the answer to that problem is 20 books, but we'll get to that. But you should always label. Everybody caught up, or we need a second? All right, please do not work ahead of me. Do not do number 1. Should not be working on the problems yet. I really want to make sure that we're understanding how to set them up, how to label them, etc. Okay. All right, so let's go down to the first problem. It says you were going shopping for school supplies. You bought 3 pencils for $2. How much would you pay for 12 pencils? We talked yesterday. The first sentence is your first fraction. So step 1 says you're going to read it and you're going to underline the number and the label. So this says 3 pencils, $2. So that first sentence is your first fraction. And it doesn't matter. So let's say that I put $2 on the top and I put my pencils on the bottom. But Seamus puts his pencils on the top, dollars on the bottom. It doesn't matter. But what I want you to do is after you put 3 over 2, I want you to come over here to the side. And here's my question I want everybody to answer. What label is on the 3? Pencil. So I'm going to put pencils up here on the top. And what label is on the 2? The cost, the dollars. So every time we do these, I want us to put this. that you put pencils on top, you put the money on the bottom. Because then you go and you read the next part, and it says, how much would you pay for 12 pencils? So I asked myself, they gave me 12 pencils. So looking at your labels here, if I look up here at my labels, would I put the 12 on the top or would I put it on the bottom? Top, because guess what? I put pencils on the top of the first one, so I'm also going to put pencils on the top of the second one. So I'm going to do 12 over X. Because I'm finding costs, I'm finding the money when they tell me 12 pencils. So pencils on top, money on bottom. Everybody okay on that? All right, and then we're going to solve it. So I cross multiply. So 3 times X is 3X. Not always.
No, like when it's on 3x.
What?
Yeah, man, just carry on.
All right, 2 times 12 is 24. And then I solve that one-step equation, so I'll divide by 3, and X equals 8. And the last thing is to label your answer. So what was I finding? I was finding how much would I pay. So that 8 represents the money. So this answer is $8. Always label your answer. All right, let's do another one together. All right, the next one says, Mary has 6 apples for every 3 pears. Her friend has 8 apples. If the fractions are equivalent, that just means that the ratios are equal, how many pears does her friend have? So I go back to that first sentence. It says Mary has 6 apples and what? And no, Mary has 6 apples and 3 pears. So Andy, how would you set that first one up?
6 apples over 3.
No, it's Andy. Okay, so 6 over 3. Now I want you to come over here to the side and I want you to label. So what was the label on apples? Or on 6? Apples. And what's the label on the 3? Pears. So I did apple over pear. So when I go to set up my other one, it's also going to be apple on top, pears on bottom. So it says her friend has 8 apples. How many pears? So pears is going to be my X. So would I take my 8 apples, would I put them on the top or would I put them on the bottom?
Top.
Top, because I did apples on top of this one, so I'm also going to do apples on top of the other one. And I'm looking for the pears, so that's where I'm going to put my X. So I did apples on top, pears on bottom. All right, I'm going to cross multiply. So I'm going to do 6 times X is 6X. 3 times 8 is 24. Divide by 6, and she has 4 what? Pears. She has 4 pears. Because X is on the bottom, and we put pears on the bottom. Are there any questions about those 2? All right, I'm going to let you all try to set the next one up all by yourself. So flip it over. So it says, I know that kind of cut off here. Sherry can drive 30 miles in 14 minutes. If she drives at the same speed, how many minutes to travel 50 miles? Yeah, you can use a calculator.
We put X over 10.
I don't know yet. You gotta did you write down what your labels are, like on the side, like I told you to?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you gotta write your labels on the side.
I did, I just did that.
And that'll help you determine like where you're gonna put your stuff. Yeah.
I want the green one.
No, I just want you to do number 3 right now. That's number 3.
Here's my question. Start, what was the label? The label is that. And this label runs what?
Minute.
And then 50, what's the label on 50? So where should I go? Okay, here's my question. My, it says 30 miles per minute. right?
Got it.
The label every 50 minutes. So it's 50.
Louis?
Can you do this stuff? We're gonna do that, right? We need to put that with a shape. Okay, so, and then you're gonna do this. You need this X, the 30 X.
Yeah, keep going. But look how you put that in.
It's talking about the law. It's easy to divide it by. What about the?
You leave it,
See this button right
make
here?
it a fraction. Yeah, if it's a repeating decimal, we should always make it a fraction.
Actually, okay, so it was, we divided that by 30. That, it's repeating. Repeating.
Alright, guys. So it says Sherry can drive 30 miles, 14 minutes, so 30 over 14. What was the label on 30? Miles. And I want you all to write this over here on the side. And what's the label on 14? Minutes. So it says, if she drives the same speed, how many minutes, so that's the X, can she drive in 50 miles? So will 50 miles go on the top or the bottom? Look at the label, miles over minutes. Top. So then I cross multiply, so 30 times X is 30X. 50 times 14, 700. Divide by 30, and you get 23.3 repeating. 0.3 repeating is 1/3, or 70 over 3 would be okay. What label would I put on that answer? Minutes. Look, the X is on the bottom, and the bottom is minutes, so it's 23 and 1/3 minutes. And you can also check yourself for reasonability. Reasonability is this answer reasonable? Does it make sense? So look, if it took 30 miles in 14 minutes, would you expect 50 miles to take longer or shorter? Longer. So 23 is bigger than 14, so yeah, that's reasonable. All right, try the next one. So when I walk around, I want to see how you write off to the side. Are you doing like paint over hours? Are you doing hours over paint? But I want to see that off to the side. so it says Wendy can paint 3 horses in 2 hours. If she paints at the same rate, how many paintings can she paint in 8 hours? So 3 over 2, what's the label on 3? Horse paintings, so that's what she's painting, the horse paintings. Over the 2 what? Hours. All right, then I look. It says how many can she paint in 8 hours? So where would I put the 8 hours? On the bottom, because look, I did 2 hours on bottom, so I also put hours on bottom. And it says how many paintings, so that's where my X is gonna go. English question. Okay, well, we're not ready yet. So I did horse paintings over hours. So 3 times 8 is 24. 2 times X is 2X. Divide by 2. And 8, what'd you get? 12 what?
Hours.
Horse paintings.
Oh.
You always have to label.
I put
Always
the 8
are
on
wrong.
top. I put the 8.
Right, but that's why we have to make sure we're asking ourselves. I put horse paintings on top, hours on bottom. That's why. Did you write the label off to the side?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, do problem 5. I need you to do number 5.
Yeah.
What are we doing? It's like, not the decimal.
It's money, so the 2 decimal places.
Um,
Well, I told you not to work ahead.
didn't write
I
that
can
down.
see.
Okay, I told us like 12 times, don't work ahead. Oh, sorry, I didn't.
No, you're good.
Mike.
You're good.
Okay, so we're doing the avocados.
With 7 avocados gone.
I don't know, would you want to just all
Avocados
the
on the
seed
top.
and your labels on the side?
Avocados on the top. Money, that's.
Okay, and then what's the different correction mark? Okay, so you're.
Avocados.
And avocado money.
Uh-huh, correct.
So you see how these are mixed with the label?
Avocados over money.
This one.
Yours together now?
Perfect. Perfect, yep.
You're welcome.
2.8. No, that's not my music.
Perfect. But it's money, so you have 2 decimal places. Okay, so your question is, I want you to make sure you write labels out. Okay, I did 5 is what? What's label on 7? So no, right, that's right. Then this one needs to check right here. You did avocados.
All right,
I forgot that I have it.
so 5 avocados for $2.50. So I do 5 over $2.50, and so that means I did avocados over money. So it says at the grocery store, how much will it cost to buy 7 avocados? 7 what? Avocados. And where did I put my avocados at? On the top. So 7 is going on the top. So 5 times X is 5X. 7 times 250 What is that, the quarter bean?
17.
One, 17.5.
Okay, and then I'll divide by 5,
3.5.
and I get $3.50, because I was looking for money.
Oh my God.
Alright, we've got about 12 minutes. What I want us to do is I want us to get out our papers from yesterday and pick up at one of these problems, and then whatever you have done at the end, you'll just turn that in. Huh? Were you here, Sherry?
Does that mean that?
You can use a calculator, you can work with the same person you worked with yesterday, you can work by yourself.
Will it be graded? Are we gonna get a grade?
Always.
So we don't get it all done?
So if you don't get it all done, that's okay, as long as you're working.